I hear from indie authors, every successful person tells me a book launch is critical to success. And I'm here to tell you, is it? Full disclosure, I am not an award-winning or best-selling author. What I am is a business coach who is working with local indie authors in Austin to promote their books. And something I have seen from before as a business coach and I'm seeing here in the author space is sometimes the advice you get from very successful people does not help you become successful. So I'm going to talk about reasons why that advice might not be right for indie authors and what advice absolutely 100% with surety indie authors do need in order to promote their book successfully. So you put your heart and soul into a book launch, going to interviews, emailing everywhere, joining groups, making messages, getting reviews, etc. And it's crickets on your Amazon page. You're a failure, no one loves you, it's over. Or was that just the wrong technique to be using in the first place? Sometimes the advice successful people give you isn't necessarily the advice you need for the next step in your business journey. Oh, wait, I forgot, sorry, publishing journey. Because in the author space, we hate business words and we hate money, we just want people to buy our books. So we're not doing business, we're doing books, publishing, and promoting. All right. Why would someone give you advice that doesn't work? For a number of reasons. One reason is sometimes successful people don't know what actually made them successful. They did a whole bunch of stuff. They don't necessarily know the one thing that that got them from, 0 to 60, right? Maybe now that they're there and they have an audience and they're testing more, they know that this particular technique got them from 60 to 65 or something like that. But usually people are really bad at the 0 to 60 because there is such a big difference in the traditional business space of going from like no customers to covering your costs, right, to breaking even, right, or from going from 0 to supporting yourself with your own work, even harder, I think, as an author. There's so much that goes into that they'll pick some of the things that are most memorable to them. That does not necessarily mean it's the thing that gave them the most leverage in that process, or was most critical, or was the right thing to match where you are right now. So sometimes they just don't know. Sometimes they tell you stuff that doesn't work because it makes them feel better. Every successful person will tell you about how hard they work. And I'm not saying be lazy, but at the same time, is there any more useless advice? There are plenty of hardworking people who are not successful. In fact, the people that I would like to hear from are not the people pretending their work was easy, but like actually the people that didn't work that hard to get there. I mean, not that they inherited or whatever, but if someone legitimately used one particular technique that was fairly easy on a short number of hours a day and did that regularly and that got them successful, I would love to know about that, because that's actually much like their advice is going to be much more likely applicable versus someone who said, I work 20-hour days doing everything under the sun. When I hear that, I'm like, oh no, I don't know what it was. It might have been something you forgot. All you remember is the 20-hour days because that's what stood out to you. But maybe it was just the, cold calling day in, day out that slowly built up your network in a way you didn't notice. And that network then, brought in more opportunities and snowballed, etc. Like maybe that was the thing. Who knows? You just don't remember. You just remember the hours you're putting in, right? So, and hours, saying I put in so many hours makes people feel good. So they want to say, yes, it was hard. I deserve this work. Nobody deserves, I think, to be successful. So I don't think you have to justify yourself. So reason number one why people who are successful might give you bad advice or wrong advice is they just simply don't know. Reason number two, they might be telling you something that they like to say because it makes them feel like they deserve their success, but actually isn't really helpful to anyone trying to be successful. Or reason number 3 why successful people might give you advice that doesn't work, even if it's many successful people or all the successful people you know, is that is a critical technique once you have success, but it's not helpful for getting success. And I think that book launches might fall into this category. So why do you do a book launch in the first place? You do a book launch so you get a bunch of people coming to your page, converting, buying the stuff that, buying your book, and then leaving good reviews. And all that activity then tells the magical algorithms who we all serve that this is a book that should rank high in search results and should be recommended. And so that's the goal of a book launch. However, what does this require? This requires the ability to move a lot of people onto your home page. If you do not already have a large audience that's willing to buy whatever you sell, then you may not have the ability to move a lot of people onto your page. And doing a big month-long book launch might actually be a distraction from the things that will actually help you be successful in the long run. So just to give you an example of this one, obviously if you don't have any social media and you have no followers, no email list, no nothing, who are you going to drive to your page? You're probably not going to drive a lot of people from interviews if that's the first time they've heard you, etc. So you might get a trickle in, but you're not going to drive huge numbers from a few interviews or even a month's worth of interviews. So, what then? Hey, quick interruption. So, my mission is to fix the internet for sci-fi and fantasy creators and fan bases. I think there are reasons why it is so hard to build a following and support yourself. Mainly that most websites aren't built for building communities and fan bases. They're built so large websites can advertise to your audience. And so that's just hugely broken and insane. It should not be as hard as it is to create a following and support yourself on creative work. That doesn't mean everyone's going to get there, but I would like more people to be able to support themselves with their creative work. That's my mission. This channel is just the beginning of that. I want to build better websites and tools. If you like and subscribe, you can help me build the channel and more quickly get to a place where I can build you tools that will make this whole business of writing thing easier. So please, like and subscribe, share. That's great. That too, yes, please. Or tell me, if this video is not good enough to earn your like and subscribe, tell me below in the comments what I could give you that would be more valuable. Thanks. So if you are an indie author that is still building your platform, or you don't know whether your platform will lead to enough engagement for a book launch, what should you do? Well, the number one thing that you're going to hear a lot, but I'll dive in deeper with examples today. The number one thing is you should build a platform over a year of consistent contribution. And why do I say that? For some people and some platforms, it might be longer, but the year is the lowest common denominator of authors I talk to that feel like they've gotten some solid book sales, as well as often in other areas. There are people who do find success on a platform earlier than that, but typically I find they're people who have started in other accounts in that platform or similar related stuff, or in the case of one YouTuber, for example, she came to YouTube from marketing, so she was already a professional, right, at marketing. If you're an author, most authors are not professionals at marketing, don't have a business degree, etc. So not only is it going to take time to just grow a subscriber base, it's going to take time for you to learn the ins and outs of the platform. When I say this, consistency on a platform for a year, people think slow and steady growth. And sometimes they complain that's not how growth works. You're right. Growth is not slow and steady, but it's the people who contribute consistently that, one, start to learn and optimize how they behave with something. It's the fact that, not just the fact that they've been doing it for a year that's magic, it's the fact that if you are doing something for a year and paying any attention, you're probably improving not just the craft of what you're doing, not just the quality of the posts, but you're getting a better idea of what people like. What kind of topics they like, what kinds of posts get lots of engagement, what kinds of keywords you need for people to find you, etc. All of those marketing style things that do not have to do just with writing. It's learning that skill over a year that helps you find your audience. So when I say a year of consistent contribution, one of the things I don't mention all the time, but that's absolutely critical, is also consistent learning on that platform. I'm kind of assuming that that will happen, but yes, it's possible to contribute to a channel doing the same thing and learning nothing for a year. And those are typically, the type of people who are not actively learning and trying to improve with each post. Those are typically the people who will take longer than a year to develop their audience. We're human beings, we tend to learn, so some stuff will get in your head anyway, but you really do need to be actively learning. And actually in psychology, there's this deliberate practice, that's the key word. The idea that you get good by putting in a whole bunch of hours, but a whole bunch of hours of the right kind of practice. So one of those things of the right kind of practice is that you're actively working on improving, right? And you're getting feedback. And so that is one of the reasons why consistently contributing to a platform over the course of time is important, because you need that time to learn how to be good at the platform. But also, and this goes a little bit more into how growth works, growth is not linear. If you're posting a bunch, some posts will get 0 readership, some posts will get a lot. Some posts will get picked up by somebody in the Czech Republic or something. That happened to me on a former channel. My most popular video was a video about listening exercises with my wife that got picked up by some Eastern European magazine or something, and I really couldn't replicate that. It felt kind of random. It felt out of the blue. It didn't feel linear. Why couldn't that have been my first video? Well, there's actually really good reasons for that. For example, YouTube straight up doesn't recommend your stuff until you've posted 30 videos or so, and then you have enough of a body of work, they have a better idea of who wants your videos and who to recommend it to. And so if you don't do the slow and steady, you generally don't get those recommendations that then lead into, one breakaway video and a clump of subscribers. I think that channel really only got to 100 or so subscribers. We were really psyched when it did. That was, 0 to 100 was a big journey, but I moved on from that. That was a valiant first attempt. Anyway, but that's just to underscore, I might put in 30 videos before even one gets recommended, and maybe other algorithms work that way too. So the year is important for learning, it's important for the algorithm getting to know you and who likes you. Some of that will just improve with time. And then it's also necessary for keeping an audience, right? If you post intermittently, people aren't waiting for your next video, your next post, etc. to come out. So there's a lot of reasons why that consistency over a year is powerful, and for the people who are keeping up with you consistently for that year, it builds a relationship where they're more engaged and they're much more likely to participate in something like a book launch. However, just having them as a number on your screen for a year is not sufficient for a book launch. The other thing you're really going to want to focus on after building a platform is, do you have a tested pitch? Do you have proven engagement, right? And again, if you have a lot of books, people have loved them already, you have a big audience, then maybe this is not quite as critical for you because you just know people are going to buy it. I've definitely bought a book from one of my favorite authors that If I'd heard the pitch, I might not have bought it, but I didn't even really bother because it was the next one in a series and I like the series and I like the author, right? You might have that momentum. But if you're an early author, you don't have that going for you and you have to go the pitch route. And so what do? You have to pick an audience to pitch to. So this is a hard thing for authors, especially if you feel like your book is a unique snowflake, cross-genre, right? Actually, that's not a problem. People don't hate you because you're a snowflake. You just don't know who to start promoting to. Life gets so much easier once you have a single audience in mind. Then you can look at what language they use to describe their favorite books or their favorite parts of their favorite books. And you can use that language in describing your book to them. Hopefully, you have the goods, right? That you're not giving them empty promises, but you learn to speak their language, and then you know how to pitch a book that will be exciting to them. So that is something you want the platform plus a pitch resonates with that platform. And not just that, if this is people who have already read your book that you're then putting on Amazon, well, maybe your pitch is not primarily on the book. They read it and liked it, but your pitch is on why, having read the book in serial format, they should go to Amazon and buy it. So, that pitch might depend, but for most people, right, it's finding not only like a big niche, like a horror niche or whatever, but find your sub niche, whether it's Lovecraftian horror, whether it's dark urban fantasy romance, whatever, right? You want to find that subgenre, that sub niche that has like a very particular discrete needs or desires for their book, and then be able to promise that to them. If you have several different niches or a very generic audience and you're trying to sell to everyone, your book will sound generic. It will sound like, to you, it's this unique snowflake because of 1,000 reasons that are in your head from when you're writing it. But when you try and describe all of those 1,000 reasons at once, it sounds like a muddle, it's confusing, and they don't have what they need, which is one compelling reason to buy it. That's all they need, right? One experience, one thing they want out of their book is all they need to buy your book. So you want to know if it's the right thing, if it's the thing they're into, or like one of the top 5 things they love or they're looking for in a book. Then, if you can say, hey, this is one of the things you're looking for in a book, and I have this thing, they will want to buy it. And actually, this kind of goes into where comp titles are actually, I think, misused a lot. A lot of people try, and authors hate this. I hate comparing my book to somebody else's book. That makes it feel derivative. Right? That this is unique. I wrote it because it's not unique. It's not, I didn't write Dune. I wrote something totally different where the spice comes from giant birds because birds are cooler than worms. It's not like Dune, okay? Sorry. A little bit of friendly lampooning. I do this too. Right? But that's not really what you want to do to test your pitch, is say it's like Dune. People don't buy books that are like Dune, right? You want to think about what is the experience they loved from Dune. For instance, why does everybody quote fear is the mind killer, right? Maybe it's not the Dune, but it's the shadowy mysticism of a secret matriarchy that they really liked. The overcoming fear, the evolution of mind over matter, they like mind over matter techniques or whatever, cults or mysticism. And that's the thing that really gets them. Then if that's in your book, right, you can pull that out. You can write things that sound reminiscent of fear as the mind killer. Don't just straight up plagiarize that, right? But you play around with that for a little while. Describe a shadowy matriarchy that are myth and messiah makers or whatever. And you're like, oh yeah, they will say, oh, this sounds like Dune. That was my favorite thing about Dune. I'm gonna check out this book, right? And that is how comp titles can help you. So if you're thinking about comp titles, then go ahead and look who's discussing that title and see what they love about it. And when you're describing your book, don't just say, it's like this, it's like Dune, right? Use your "fear is the mind killer" quote and talk about how the main character is using this secret mind over matter matriarchy mysticism to overcome whatever odds or fight whatever odds or take punishment that no mere mortal could take, right? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, I love that. I got psyched when, you know, that was the fear is the mind killer when they're crashing the plane. I think, if it's been a while in Dune or whatever, the plane's crashing, that comes to his mind and he's reciting that, and then he comes to and he freaking saves the day, and I loved it. Yes, right? Like, if you could articulate an experience like that, they'll put 2 and 2 together. You might not even have to name drop Dune, but you might geek out, I love Dune, and I love this when this happened, so I put X in my book. Like, I knew I wanted my main character to have this mind over matter, you know, force of will over fear moment, and this is that moment in the book. And if you share it like that, all of a sudden it doesn't mean your book is like Dune. It doesn't mean you're copying Dune, that you're derivative. It means that the person listening says, oh my goodness, I loved that same scene. I recognize a fellow geek. And if that person has the same likes as I do, they like what I like in a book, they're putting in their book, I want to buy that book, right? It's that identification you're looking for and that promise of the experience that they crave. That's what people want. It's not like comp title. Sorry, that was like a huge rant, but you know, if you are like many of the authors I know, you love ranting about comp titles and being asked about comp titles. So that's how I would take comp titles and turn it into a better pitch test. And of course, if you share that experience and it's crickets, then maybe you don't have the right pitch. But before you do a book launch, you want to be able to have those pitch moments and see what resonates the most. And if you're not getting traction, if you're not getting people engaging with the pitch, then chances are they're not going to engage your book launch. So I'm trying to help indie authors support themselves with their work. If this content is helpful, please leave a like down below or subscribe. That way I can help more authors. If you're stuck somewhere in your writing and publishing career, throw a comment down below and I will try to reply directly or even make a video about it. And if this video is not worthy of your like or your subscription, please leave a comment down below and tell me why. I would love to make sure that I am addressing the topics that you need help with in a way that helps your brain click and realize that you really can do not only the writing part, but you can do the business part of being an author. Thanks for watching and see you next time on the Ubiquitous Tavern.